People always ask, what is it that makes PayDirt Payroll so easy to use? And in the last video, the batch processing part 1 video, I walked through the process of creating and completing a payroll and doing the time entry, and showed you how easy time entry would be, but I didn't have a chance to show you all of the controls that are available inside of that pay card for each employee in that batch. So let's go back to batches, and I still have that batch. I don't have any time entered in it at the moment, but we'll do a little bit of that now. First, the first employee that we're looking at, Beetle Bailey, is a salaried employee, and essentially there really isn't any other entry to be done for him. So if we wish to, we don't have to wait till the tail end of the batch entry process to calculate any employee. We could calculate his pay card and see what his deductions are and what his net pay is just by clicking the calculate button. And you notice down here at the bottom that the program shows us what the net pay is and what some of the subtotal amounts are that led to that net pay. In the employee's pay card, the program has calculated all of the government deductions, including WCB, and you'll note that this employee also has extra tax being taken off. And it's also calculated, for example, some of these company-based pay codes that have been defined for this particular sample company, including this garnishee pay code, which is calculating 25% of the net pay of this employee, net of government deductions, so that this garnishee obligation can be met easily by the company. Let's move to an hourly employee, and I'll show you how we do entry here. So if we were to do entry for this hourly employee, we could put in time in the straight time column. You'll notice that the program also has an overtime column, and this overtime column is defined as being 1.5 times the straight time rate. So if I put an hour of overtime in, it'll add that hour in at $18 an hour, and if I put an hour in the double time column, it would calculate it at $24 an hour and do those calculations for us. You notice also that I move around in this pay card by using the arrow keys, and I can take my hands off the mouse and it makes data entry much faster. You'll also notice that some of these rows are white and some are grayed out. The grayed rows are pushed to the bottom in each pay card so that they don't interfere with the white pay codes, which are ones that we expect to do entry into, although we could make changes or edit any row after it's been calculated. And let's, like we did on Beetle Bailey's pay card, let's calculate this employee's pay card and see what their net pay will be after we've made these entries. And you can see that the net pay amount is being shown, and so are all of the government deductions. And in addition to that, we have these calculated amounts, which are company deductions. You'll notice that to the right of the amounts that have been calculated, or the amounts that have been entered, whichever it might be, there's an override column. If for some reason you needed to adjust an amount that is being calculated within the program, you can easily do that. For example, if this employee had been away on holidays in the previous payroll period and they have an obligation of paying a minimum of $15 of union dues each payroll period, we can easily add that to this calculated amount and put in the resulting amount and then just turn on override. You notice when I make this change that everything at the bottom in the subtotal row goes back to pending, but I can easily recalculate it again by either hitting F9 on my keyboard or clicking the F9 button up here, and it'll use the override value now instead of the calculated value. And I can control any amount in a pay card by doing that. If, for example, you needed to control one of these deductions, perhaps EI somehow was missed for some reason, you needed to add $20 to that, you can easily do that and then turn on override. Again, the bottom row goes to pending and I can calculate the subsequent amount. I can also, even though the employee is set up for just having 3 wage pay codes, I can also add rows if I need to. Even though they're not set up for that, I can easily do that, and I can pick from my list of pay codes, and I'm looking at wage pay codes, not benefit or deduction pay codes, but I'm going to pick a generic pay code called hourly pay, and the program knows that this employee's standard hourly rate is $17.50. I might put in the number of hours that I require there, perhaps for some reason the rate needs to be changed in this particular pay run because of the specialized kind of work that this employee is doing. And I can also put in the accounting in this column. So I can correct either any of these, and if for some reason any of those accounting numbers aren't right, I can modify them and make whatever entries I need. So I can also make changes within this part of the pay card grid as well. For example, if this employee was supposed to have their rate changed to 6% in this payroll period, but it hadn't been done during the setup phase prior to payroll, I can still do it live here and go back and correct it in their employee profile later. And after I've made this change, again, I can do the calculation. And when I do the calculation, the program will resort all the rows and move this wage pay code to the top and recalculate those values so that the vacation pay accrual is recalculated at the new rate of 6%. So all I need to do is click the F9 button and it's done that. Here's the new vacation pay amount. Here's the hourly pay code row that I added at the different rate, and you'll notice that the accounting is being expressed as I entered it. And I can change any of these values at any time, and you'll notice that I also still have override turned on. If I was wrong about that and didn't want override turned on, I can easily turn it off again and then recalculate. We'll see the EI amount recalculated to the proper value for the wages that are earned in this particular pay card. And again, I'll be able to see my net pay amount down here at the bottom. And that's a description of some of the controls that are available to you inside of each employee's pay card. You could go through, enter time, and manage each of the employees' payrolls very easily by just using the controls that are available to you on this tab of the batch. Great. Thank you very much.